Most of the people, the organizers of this festival, have roots in the old Santa Fe Bluegrass and Old Time Music Festival, which actually started out as the Santa Fe Banjo and Fiddle Contest in 1974. It was held at the rodeo grounds, Santa Fe Rodeo Grounds. After that, it moved for 10 years to the Santa Fe County Fairgrounds. Paige Pinnell and I were both involved in the original Santa Fe Bluegrass and Old Time Music Festival. And the organizers of the festival decided to move it away from Santa Fe. Paige and I used to have a continuing conversation about how we really want to have our festival back. And so we pulled together a group of friends, all of whom had been involved in the festival. We had never done a festival like this before. We'd all been involved in the previous festival, but never as the principal organizers. And we discovered that there was a groundswell of enthusiasm about reviving the festival in Santa Fe.
We would meet once a week and trying to figure out how we were going to do this and who was going to do what, and could we get groups to come and play, and where would we do it.
We had some ideas about, we wanted to have it in an appropriate place.
We actually had the fairgrounds set up the first year.
We were informed they were doing some construction there. Probably be done by the time our festival came around the next fall, but no guarantees. But we started thinking in the meantime, you know, what if it doesn't happen? So Paige and I, Paige Pinnell, went to about 10 different venues, places where we could go. We talked to bar owners, we talked to people at picnic grounds, we talked to everybody we could think of who might have a place where we could do the festival.
And then in April, Ron, the president, called and said, are we still on? Are we still okay? And they said, well, we really can't rent you the grounds because we've got a construction project going on.
A couple of months before the festival was supposed to happen, construction still happened, and we better do an alternative plan here. So we went back through all of our information we gathered from the different festival. We thought, well, Camp Stoney sounds pretty good. Might be a little small, but we'll go give it a chance. We came back here, found out that they were so interested in doing the festival and so accommodating.
Camp Stoney turned out to be the perfect venue. It was nested in the pinon and juniper and ponderosa pine trees. It was just a glorious spot. And we had plenty of wide open sky. We had a nice view of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. And we had a good view of the bottom of the Rocky Mountains, Shaggy Peak. And we had a huge building that we could put our main stage in.
The performance space is beautiful, and we use a lot of the little locations around Camp Stoney for jam sessions, workshops, and the performances.
I got involved with the TradFest a couple of months after Paige passed away. I was going to miss all of his musical family very, very much, so I volunteered to take notes. And I came to thoroughly enjoy all of the men who were on the board. There were about 9 of them and me.
We have a shared vision of what we want a festival to look like. We want it to have a strong community feel, not only rooted in the community and in northern New Mexico, but also just a chance for old friends and new friends to gather and to share their love of this kind of music. Part of that vision was to expand the range of music that we would offer. So now we have bluegrass music and old-time music and mariachi music and northern New Mexico Hispanic music, Celtic, klezmer, Native American. It's been wonderful to watch the musicians and the fans of music, of different kinds of music, to share their musical traditions with each other. And it happens spontaneously on the grounds at Camp Stoney. It happens in the camping areas, and it happens on the stage where people invite other folks. They'll say, we were playing under the trees and we got together with these folks, and why don't you come up here and do a song with us?
Most of all of our friends that helped to run this festival and who have been deeply involved over the years are also music makers. And so as well as doing a festival together, we enjoy making music together.
We wanted a participatory festival. It wasn't an idea that you would come in and sit down and listen to performers and only that. We knew that a lot of the people that came to the festival in Santa Fe brought instruments, and they loved playing with other people, meeting new people, and playing with old friends. So one of the things that we innovated was to have one common jam spot, so that people knew that all day long there was going to be a jam going on, and everybody was welcome. And the whole idea was people could come into that jam, play a few tunes in the big circle, and at the same time meet people so that you recognize somebody as you were wandering around Camp Stoney later in the day, and you'd have a chance to play with them. And it wasn't a stranger, it was somebody that you knew from the first jam. It's a continuation, a way to develop that bond and community that this festival is all about.
There's no limits on who can play music here. It's all y'all come and y'all have fun.
Because it's inspiring. You can sit and listen to fine national performers or regional performers, and it gets you excited about making music. And we found over the years that one of the things that really helps is to have some of those professionals and some other experts give workshops. And we've had a variety of workshops over the years in singing in various styles and experience levels of instruments, learning how to make their own music a little bit better.
Our first year here at Camp Stoney was very unpredictable for us.
Everyone was a little bit nervous about having a music festival.
We really didn't know how many people would come, if people would come out of town this far as 10 miles from Santa Fe.
That first year was very difficult, but we pulled it off.
Well, it was just trial and error that first year, and
the whole idea of the festival was trial and error. It just sort of popped out of Paige's mind, like a few months before we did this.
That first festival was really hard because we had so little time to really pull it together when it ultimately came down to it, with all these marvelous ideas. There were only 3 of the men out of the 9 who had actually had experience with a festival.
First year, everything was new. Nobody had ever had a festival up there before. We had to deal with parking, food trucks, where to put the tickets, where to put the workshops, where to do everything, and how to do it, and how to man it, figure out how many porta potties you have to do. It's just everything. It was just huge, huge.
The main worry was parking.
we spent the day before the festival with chainsaws cutting down all kinds of trees.
Actually,
out in
that was the
parking lot.
second year, I think. The first year, we accommodated all the cars in the parking that was available. And every little nook and cranny we partitioned off with chalk lines on site right here.
Parking, of course, everyone will tell you that. The volunteers, the food trucks, just the execution of it. These men had brilliant ideas, and every week I'd go home with pages and pages of notes and what we're going to do, and let's do this and let's do that. So finally, about 5 weeks out, I called Nora and I said, Nora, we need help. We need to execute this.
It was crazy.
We had these meetings, kind of a crash course of meetings, because we knew we had to do something. So we're meeting once a week to figure out how to put this together and how many people to expect and how many parking spots. It just came out of necessity, really. We just tried something.
We asked friends and family and strangers. We asked everybody if they would like to volunteer at the festival.
The very first year here at Camp Stoney, I was in charge of the merchandise tent. And basically that was selling t-shirts, That was raffling off donated instruments. That was setting up a flea market music related items, handling posters, and anything that we could sell. It was my very first experience of doing anything like that. So I had quite a learning curve.
My first job at the TradFest was as instrument check. Chairman of the instrument, whatever you want to call it. And the really nice thing about it was you got to sit inside where you could see the performers. So I didn't miss much of the performances. But like I say, I didn't get to pick much.
Last year was the first time I actually got to participate.
The first year, the fact that we pulled it off and was such an amazing, we thought, feat, and it was, people found it and loved it. It was euphoric.
We had really positive feedback from all the people immediately afterwards, and you could tell during the festival that everyone was having a good time, lots of smiling and good music playing, and it just turned out is better than expected.
It was magical.
The people who camp were thrilled that we had a place for that to happen, and just uninterrupted picking out here. It was really gratifying.
I think we were all flabbergasted that we were able to raise enough money to put on a festival, because admissions only cover about 1/3 of the cost of putting on a festival. The community support was gratifying from Santa Fe, from northern New Mexico, and elsewhere, just really gratifying. And we were exhausted, but it was just a very satisfying thing to all of us amateurs to have put together a festival. And I will never forget riding in the golf cart down from one part of the festival grounds to another, and someone saying, "You know, this is the best organized festival I've ever been to."
It's been a fun time, and we've gotten to know some wonderful bands and wonderful musicians. And for most of us, we still come out to see friends we haven't seen for a while and to play music in the campground. We often judge a festival by its campground picking or its bush picking. And that's some of the best times at this festival in particular. And we hope it continues for a long time.
We like to think we're doing this festival for the community, and we really are, but we're also doing it for ourselves and for all of our friends and for anybody who enjoys live music, playing music together, and for seeing some great performances. It just keeps the music going in Santa Fe and northern New Mexico. We're happy to be part of that.
Next year, hopefully, we'll be back to Camp Stoney, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year.